Let's create a space ambient sound using Ableton Live's wavetable. What I really like about this sound is that it can be used for either horror or it can be used to make a sort of heavenly space ambience. And I'll show you examples of both at the end of this video. So let's get into it. All right, so overall, I didn't really do a whole lot to create, this bass sound. So let me show you what I did. The first thing I did was I selected a couple of saw waves. Saw waves are going to be really good for these sorts of horror and space-like sounds because they have a lot of high frequency content and they have really rapid rise and fall times. The first one was just a basic saw dual, and the second was under distortion here, and I chose the freak saw. On the first one here, I drove up the wave position to about 80% and detuned it just a bit. And on the second one, I drove the position up not very much. I added some effects here, an FM pitch, and I widened the amount here just a tad. And I also detuned it just a little bit. I turned on the sub over here. I turned it down just a little bit to about -8, drove the tone up to about 35%. And I left the octave here at -1. I got a notch filter over here on my first frequency, and I mapped that to the LFO 1 in my matrix. And I mapped the oscillator 1 position to LFO 2, but I just went down instead of up. On my amp here, I drove the attack up to about 733 milliseconds, the decay 1.03 seconds, then the release just about 1.4, 1.5 seconds. And I didn't really mess with the envelopes. But over here on LFO 1, made it very slow. I set the rate to 4, the amount to 36%, and on LFO 2, the rate to 8, and the amount 100%. Over here on Unison, I selected noise, and I cranked up the amount just a tad to about 40%. Then I added a chorus. I selected vibrato mode, and what this really does is just gives it a bit more width and a bit more detuning. I threw on a delay, and you can see the settings here. I got 3, 5, my rate 1.38, my time 4.7%. And this isn't an Ableton plugin, but this is one of my favorite reverb plugins. And I just chose the Haunted preset and turned the mix down a little bit. I played with some of the other settings like the size, the decay, and then I threw on an EQ at the end of it all, cut out some of the lows and boosted a bit of the high mids and the highs. So let's hear the space good first and then the space bad. And let me know what you think in the comments.